German Expressionism is a typical special art style in modern history, which first appeared in German literature in the 1910s, including poetry and painting. As the European continent had just experienced the baptism of the First World War, German society was being isolated from other European countries, and its economy and people's livelihood suffered greatly. Therefore, German artists no longer pay attention to the aesthetic embodiment of physical and mental pleasure in their works, but pay more attention to the distortion and heavy method to visualize the anxiety and repression of the real society in Germany at that time. At the same time, in 1916, Germany issued a law prohibiting the import of foreign films. Therefore, German people quickly produced a high demand for local films, which further promoted the popularity of German Expressionism in German films at that time. German Expressionism is without doubt one of the most recognizable styles in the history of cinema. Unlike most of the elegant and aesthetic styles of cinema in history, German Expressionist films left audiences with a sense of mystery or spookiness. This is due to its several characteristics: high angles, deep shadows/chiaroscuro lighting, extreme camera tilting and impossible sets. This style takes advantage of the high contrast of shadows and lighting in films to present absurdly distorted scenes. The two most representative films of this style are The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari and Metropolis. The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari is known for the skewed, anxiety-provoking angles that made up its painted backdrops, as well as its hauntingly gruesome storyline. Metropolis subscribes to the techniques used within Expressionism through the angular skyline, the overstated movements of the characters, and the sharp contrast between the two worlds. The silence within the film emphasizes the heightened emotion felt, which goes on to motivate the plot. Although German Expressionism is widely believed to have ended in the late 1920s and early 1930s due to political unrest and repression in Germany, the legacy of the style influenced later Hollywood films as film artists fled Germany to the United States. German Expressionism fundamentally influenced modern cinema, and the strong contrast lighting style gradually evolved into the classic noir and the horror film genre in Hollywood. The horror genre wouldn't have become a major player in the film industry if it weren't for the influence of German Expressionism. Not only did German Expressionism inspire the classic horror films, but it also inspired other genres like film noir, and would go on to inspire thrillers and other fantasy-related films. In the later works of some Hollywood directors, we can still see the soul of German Expressionism, such as Edward Scissorhands and Batman directed by Tim Burton. He is known for his gothic fantasy and horror films and is considered a perfect example of the legacy of German Expressionism. Generally speaking, German Expressionism, as a classic art style in history, reflected the turbulent period of German society at that time, and also had an important influence on early film production. In fact, German Expressionism has not completely disappeared from today's film industry. In the production of many horror films now, the audience can still feel its distinctive characteristics.